How are you? Welcome to Critical Moves of Telesur. Does the year close in Latin America and the Caribbean from the geopolitical, geoeconomic, and geostrategically point of view? This is what we're going to be analyzing today. Let's get on with it. Let's begin by listening, leading people from the region. They responsabilize the U.S. Government of the great illnesses that our countries have undergone. We have listened to ridiculous accusations against the Bolivarian and Cuban revolution in their attempt to justify and not understand the profound reasons why there are these revolts and disputes in the region. This does not surprise us. The popular demands are a result of the fight against inequality and social injustice that have been accumulating for years, and they will keep on and they will go profound while the causes are not solved. The hardships that our brother Bolivia, our beloved brother Bolivia, the plurinational state of Bolivia, when with fascist methods, a psychological war, siege, personalized attacks. There has been this, on November 10th, there was a coup d'etat that was racist, fascist, against our beloved Indian leader, Evo Morales. Aymara. From Alba, all of our solidarity, all of our support, and Evo Morales, along with the people, will fulfill the prophecy of Tupac Amaru. They will come back, brothers of Bolivia. They will come by the millions, and they will defeat the fascist, the racist. This is written in history. We continue to bet on the Latin America that is united, to insert with dignity in the rest of the world. In 1974, General Perón said that nobody could become fulfilled in a country that is not realized. Likewise, in our continent, nobody will be able to achieve everything if not everybody as well. It's time to change the model economic that has been imposed for decades for governments and peoples of Latin America and the world. The neoliberal economic model is a sham. It's an institution that carries out coups for the progressive countries, for the left-wing countries, and they will never support us. They do not support those who are liberated. Let's analyze the region. Latin America and the Caribbean, delightful territory for the imperialism. This takes over 22,222 square kilometers. It is 13.5 surface of the planet. Due to their extension, it has a diversity of biological and ethnics. That is why we have so many animal and plant diversity. It has one of the major rivers and most of the food sources and mineral resources, among which we have petroleum, copper, lithium, old, silver. We have several countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. The characteristics is those based on the extraction of resources, mining, petroleum, agriculture. According to the World Bank, the economy of the Latin America and the Caribbean is the third largest in the world, with $6.06 billion. However, the inequality and poverty are still the challenges in the region. let's take advantage to suggest a text that is called Plan Condor 2.2. This is after the coup in Bolivia. He declares Nicaragua a threat for their international security, and they point at Mexico. This was published on December 1st in the gray zone. It said apparently a coup against the socialist president is not enough. Washington has said that Nicaragua is a threat for the security of the United States. Trump also raises the heat in Mexico, joining the country with terrorism and justifying a possible military intervention. This has led the forces at the left to alert on the possibility of having a new Condor plan in the 21st century. The Condor plan were killed. Many people were killed, tortured, disappeared, imprisoned with the support of the Intelligence Department of the United States. Nowadays, while Latin America is being more observed under the eyes of the Cold War, the Condor plan is now begun with new mechanisms. Chaos is just beginning. Ben Norton is the author of this recommendation of the gray zone. Let's go to a first pause in our critical moves. Remember that you can always participate with us through our question that says, closing 2019, we make a balance of what happened in Latin America and the Caribbean, bearing in mind everything that's happened during these 12 months. We ask you, what are the challenges that our countries have ahead? We wait for your answers. And since this is a balanced program, and this is the last one of 2019, we will start our analysis with a guest, but just after a pause. Please stay with us. I am talking with Néstor Rivero. He's a lawyer, a scholar that I will present in just a couple of minutes. Before, I would like to see a framework of the electoral framework that has been happening. The year that has finished, Latin America and the Caribbean has had a very wide electoral agenda. This year, Argentina had a big defeat for 10 years. The winning of Fernández had put away the right-wing government. That same day in Uruguay, there was the right one, but without a large margin. This was La Calle Pou won with a right-wing government, defeated a 15-year left-right. Evo Morales won in October. The next day, the Supreme Electoral Tribunal declared that with almost all of the polls that have been scrutinized, he was declared president. His contender, Carlos Mesa, said that it was a fraud. Protesters set on fire 3 regional offices of the electoral offices. In Colombia, there was regional elections. And the president of now had a huge loss. In Bogotá and Medellin, there were progressive authorities put in place.
In
Dominica, the Laborist Party, regardless of the opposition, trying to delegitimize the elections, this didn't work, and President Skerrit was re-elected. And here is something that we should highlight. Within all of those events at the polls, there was a coup d'etat in Bolivia. This marked the year that marked the year in this region. Let's go back and see it.
Bolivia,
a country with an emerging economy that had everybody's attention. There was eradication of poverty and the inclusion of the indigenous groups in many government top authorities. On October 21st, the elections were announced. Morales had a clean-cut election win. The rejection was immediate. The company published a report saying that there were great mistakes in the elections, and they asked to repeat the elections. However, there was a violent wrath of the people. On November 10th, Evo Morales, after having visited the president, he called on new elections. However, some hours later, the forces were recommending Evo that he would withdraw from the post. His letter of retirement was not accepted by Congress. The population takes to the streets to manifest and reject the coup, and some voted liderada por Luis Fernando Camacho, Carlos Mesa y la autoproclamada presidenta, la senadora Yanine Áñez. Para el 15 de noviembre, for November 15, en Sacaba y en Sencata, en la ciudad del Alto, there were even people killed, and the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights denounced this. Y cerca de 1,500 detenidos. Evo Morales was being held in Argentina. In Bolivia, he has not been restituted any right. She will have to wait until the new elections in 2020. Elements that we're going to take into account for this first part of the analysis, that we start with Nestor Rivera. He's a lawyer, he's a scholar, he has had a very bountiful professional life. Welcome to Critical Moves. Nestor, we are doing like a balance, as I said. What are the main events that happened in Latin America and the Caribbean for this year, taking advantage that now he can see us? Well, let's see, the coup d'etat against the constitutional president that was popular by the people. And in the second round, and this was a clear-cut legitimacy. What can we say about these events? What is one of the complexities of this Latin American? I don't know if you agree with me, but this coup in the region, well, what they said is that now the coup, that time has been left behind, but now with Trump, they start again, because there were these revolutions of color, the Arab Spring, the lawfare, apparently, but to Evo, this was a great home, a great hit. And he self-proclaims that this is a new way by which 2019 will go down in history. Some people just proclaim themselves president, in this case, one who was not even in the line of succession. So how to understand the complexity of this coup in Bolivia, just to mention one of all of the many that are still occurring. This must be written
los centros de poder dentro de Estados Unidos, que son los que al fin y al cabo dictan las pautas para
But these are the people who dictate the norms for the geostrategic events, and
la derecha, los grupos articulados, los grupos económicos y políticos articulados con el Departamento de Estado.
That's why they have to agree with what the same discourse is.
Y ahí le faltó un detalle, ¿no? La Cancillería por excelencia de Estados Unidos, la OEA.
Y el brazo del Departamento de
and
Estado,
this armed force of the presidency of
la OEA es el brazo diplomático
of our neighbors. Well, for Latin America, it can be said that Venezuela was the media brother, because since you were here last time,
imponiendo su dictamen,
by imposing his leadership,
gobiernos muy dóciles en casi todo, por no decir todo, salvo la Argentina del 48.
And almost in all of the cases, with very soft governments that are willing to please the U.S. Positions. This has changed. This activities of 2019. This is what we call the one decade. And what happened later? Latin America, they reviewed their position. And thank God they didn't decide to go to the polls, because they're cold. I think there's one in every family. Those countries that are used to living off the work of everybody else, of taking away the taxes and the speculation of the This is a phenomenon of the last decades. Speaking of these last decades, and part of it is 2019. What has been the characteristics of the right-wing parties during the last years? I think they're copying a situation of capitalism in the So we don't know how this is going to end. Maybe it's going to end by saying hi to your grandmother too. But we have to see where all of these countries are leading to. India and China as the two main leaders of this 21st century. I think it's very important because China and these two countries do not have strategic alliances with parents of our countries. And nobody has been able to identify on establishing strategic alliances. And now we have to wait until the other country decides to raise their hand and do so. I think it has to be a very defined decision. I think that in the development plan, there is the third or the fourth.
es una región que sale
Here we
de la
have that
sumisión, del encadenamiento hacia un
we are no
solo mercado,
longer
hacia un
in
modelo de mundo que solo ve
submission.
un centro metropolitano y ve hacia la diversidad. Y esa diversidad está en Asia y está en
This
la
diversity is
región
in
euroasiática
Asia
con
and
Rusia
the
y está
Eurasian
en África
storm.
y está también en América Latina. Verse a sí mismo la América Latina, los países, nuestros pueblos, los liderazgos emergentes,
And they
como
say
una
that
realidad que tiene que decirle
that we look
a los
exactly
interlocutores del resto del mundo,
exactly
y
like
para
each
ello
other.
necesita
And for that,
diversificar
we need to
sus expectativas
diversify the
geopolíticas,
expectation,
no entender
not
las
understand
victorias y las derrotas
all
solo
of
en el marco
the
hemisférico, porque es una debilidad que pienso yo que
Well,
nos
there might be
restringe la capacidad
a
de
weakness
construir esta
and not
región potencia, de
understand
construir
this
países
this
Pero en el
place
caso
because
venezolano, supongo que se ha dado con mayor fuerza esta integración con esas potencias emergentes,
okay, with
habida
these
cuenta del
emerging
bloqueo, del cual
economies,
es víctima la revolución bolivariana. El país
there must
ha
be more to
sido
it.
fuertemente cercado y sobre todo en 2019 con las políticas de Donald Trump.
And now with
muchos
the
han sido los
policies of Donald
impedimentos desde el
Trump,
punto de vista
now there
económico,
has been
las
the
llamadas
problem with
sanciones que
the
van más allá de ser meras
agriculture
sanciones,
that are
¿verdad?
going a step
Y Cuba,
behind, a
a lo
step
largo de
forward,
estos 60
and
años
Cuba
también,
over
lo
these
que ha
60 years.
obligado, repito, tanto a Venezuela como
And
a
this
Cuba,
has
a
obligated
mirar
both these
hacia
countries to
otras
look
regiones del
against
mundo
other
que
regions.
solidariamente han dicho sí,
That
cómo no,
solidarity, I
estamos
mean,
dispuestas a cooperar,
it's
estamos dispuestas a integrarnos con ustedes, a establecer una relación de
and we're
beneficio
going to
mutuo.
we're going to establish a
mutuo, que es lo que hay
relationship
que
of
entender, no es
mutual
que nos están
agreement. Let's not
otorgando solidaridad
say
a
that
secas
we're
de un solo
giving them
lado y
more.
del otro solamente reciben las gracias. No, hay un mutuo aprovechamiento, pero también hay un componente de solidaridad. Lo que quiero decir
And
es
yes,
que
there is a
es
lot of food, but there's
complementario
also
una
lots
cosa
of
que nosotros no podemos
liberty.
pedirle a una potencia emergente o a una economía que
And,
está saliendo también de sus propias dificultades internas, como Rusia o China en su momento, que solamente nos ayuden y a perpetua queden
And what
como
we're
sometidos
there
a
are
ese
some
rol de
countries that we're just
suministrador
waiting for them
de
to
productos
help us
minerales,
out
¿no?
with
Es
our agreements.
una
That's
ayuda
it.
que hay que agradecerle
help that we have to-
inmensamente, la de China y
we
Rusia
have
de manera muy
to
especial, y ahora
lick
India en
and
el
buy
aspecto
more
de
of that sauce.
medicamentos, porque en un momento en que estamos muy cercados, esa estrategia que ya venía
And
siendo
in
adelantada
that time,
desde
the strategy is
años
now going to
antes
be
de que se
real.
dieran las medidas unilaterales, mal llamadas sanciones, venía aplicando Venezuela con el comandante Hugo Chávez, con el presidente Chávez.
The
Y a eso
president
es a
of
lo que me
Venezuela.
refiero. Pienso y he percibido en la lectura de estos acontecimientos que una de las debilidades que tiene que realizar
I think one of the weaknesses that the progressive governments have to check is a major compromise against towards the pluri-ethnic groups.
No es que
And it's not that the alliances will determine
el debilitamiento
how the
del
personnel
poder
will
imperialista
be.
estadounidense, de los centros financieros, los centros tecnológicos de Estados Unidos, no. La propia dinámica
What is the
interna de
main
Estados
dynamic
Unidos
of the United States?
Indica en los últimos años, sobre
In the
todo a
past
partir
years.
de la guerra
Especially
de Siria,
since
a
we
Medio
have this
Oriente,
higher
que hay un reacomodo en las tecnologías de defensa, por ejemplo, que el área de defensa es un componente
For
importante.
example, one of the
del
defense
PIB
areas are important.
estadounidense.
Por supuesto que sí, la industria armamentística de la cual se sirve, y por eso
This is
muchos
the-
analistas coinciden en decir que Estados Unidos vive de la
The
guerra.
United States, some say that the United States live off of the war. I think that in some point it is, but yes, let's not forget that a war is a very important component, especially when the government has two months under.
Desde que fabricó con el proyecto Manhattan, inició la industria nuclear con fines de destrucción masiva, como se vio en Hiroshima y Nagasaki, y luego con los drones
And
las
yes,
últimas
later than we did
décadas,
with the drones of
de
the last
intermedio,
decades.
armas no convencionales, los
Here we also
Tomahawk,
have
distintas,
non-conventional weapons.
tecnología misilística, etcétera, tecnología de control telecomunicacional. Habría que plantearse que esa tecnología ya
That
comienza a
technology is
encontrar,
now
una refutación con la tecnología rusa, y todo indica que en China también ocurre
And
un
apparently the
avance
same
muy
thing happens with
interesante
China.
desde el punto de vista de tecnologías de defensa, tecnologías que contrarrestan la capacidad de agresión
The capacity of
de
aggression
Estados Unidos
of the
en el
United
resto de-
States on the rest
del
of the
planeta,
countries.
en el resto
¿En
de
qué
la región.
medida ese freno que le han ofrecido Rusia y China, incluso en materia armamentística, mencionando estas tecnologías.
Now that we're speaking of the last point of technology, we can say that it has favored, it has avoided that there be a siege on the United States and the Caribbean, and this could have made it worse. I thought this morning.
La ubicación de la respuesta. Uno, Venezuela, y dos,
One, Venezuela, and two, Cuba.
Definitivamente en posturas de defensa de su soberanía
and this is to protect our sovereignty and the options that we have to put an end to that straight church, that they all conceive everything within the interest of their industrial houses. They're not interested in it doesn't matter. But what we do need is to have unity.
Del obrero, de la señora que limpia el teatro de Broadway, o el interés de cualquier obrero de una fábrica en California, o de cualquier estudiante o de cualquier profesional, fuera el interés de
we have to give them an interest of trying to have
JP Morgan o los
Rockefeller,
o los herederos de los Vanderbilt, qué sé yo. El pequeño núcleo que deben estar entre 250, 300 familias que
this small group of 200 and 300 people that are on the board
de Estados Unidos.
Of the main businesses at the center.
Que articula lo geopolítico con el interés económico de estas megacorporaciones ha incidido mucho.
This has had an impact ever since the Monroe theory. I think that we should code that better.
Le voy a repreguntar.
Let me ask, United States
exhibe un desarrollo guerrerista.
Do you think that there is some type of rebellion even with such sophisticated weapons as the drones?
Rusia y China no se quedan detrás en esa materia. ¿En qué medida, le repregunto, estas potencias que han desarrollado también su tecnología
these countries who have presented their advances, what they've done is to put a stop against all of the siege on the Latin American companies that were originally contributed as a... And this was a big...
Una información, una anécdota que a mí me sigue impresionando todavía. Aquel célebre avión
that airplane that in 4 hours crossed equipment from from Moscow to Maiquetía. It had lots of alarms.
De primer orden, porque esta, no sé si llamarlo alianza estratégica o
the strategic alliance as a strategic for the construction of a plural government
y la capacidad de defensa
and the capacity
las necesidades de protección que tiene Venezuela y el apoyo, ahí se mezcla factores tecnológicos con factores de orden político.
And these can have a mixture of two factors, economical, social, cultural.
Fundamentalmente la conciencia que tiene Rusia de depositar confianza en Venezuela y en que este proceso va a seguir
and that this process will continue on because the technology.
Hará unos 2 años que el presidente
this is like 200 years ago when we started to do the ban.
Anunció que iban
After 15 days,
a destruir cuarteles, centros de defensa de Siria, y resulta que en el aire la tecnología
and it turns out to be that the capacity of our torpedoes are supporting
y al gobierno de Bashar al-Assad
en la lucha contra el terrorismo.
Mira, algo así como el 80% de los Tomahawk estallaron en el aire.
It's important to see how these weapons have performed. In fact, for example, there's a one that's called the Dreambird, and it's not true.
Hace 2 años. Se expresa el giro.
Cumple prácticamente 8 años. Fue en el 2011 que
pero lo de los Tomahawk.
Exactamente.
Sí,
digamos que
and how about the most recent phases of this war?
De unos 2 años para acá, comienza a haber un giro que yo lo explico con un repliegue tecnológico
the only way that I explain
que
is to
obliga
check
a Estados Unidos reconcentrarse,
This
reubicarse,
makes
porque
the
va a enviar tropas, armamentos, recursos para perderlos en guerras donde el adversario es alguien que tiene poderío tecnológico capaz
apparently all of the technology that they have, they're able to
de
reduce
aceptar un duro golpe. Y
the impact. And
por otro lado, en
on
el
the
Golfo
other hand,
Pérsico,
Ahí
in
nos
the
vamos a
Persian
meter más
Gulf,
adelante.
well,
Fíjense cómo
we'll
nos
see
hemos
this
ido, ¿no?, de
further
Latinoamérica
on.
y el Caribe hasta el Golfo Pérsico, porque el problema es que para
The problem
comprender la
is
paz
that
hay que analizar
to
también la guerra, ¿verdad?
analyze
Sin duda.
peace, it's necessary
Bueno,
to
le voy a
evaluate
proponer
war.
hacer un alto en
Let's
nuestra
go to a
conversación.
peace, and we'll be
Hay
right
otro
back.
elemento de la América nuestra que no podemos perder de vista. Aconteció desafortunadamente a grandes magnitudes en el
Apparently,
2019,
this
el
happened
año
in
que está
high
concluyendo.
magnitudes.
Me refiero a los grandes incendios forestales en la Amazonía. Vamos a repasar
Let's go
esta grave
over the-
situación en consecuencias o con consecuencias catastróficas, para utilizar la preposición correcta, en nuestra región.
I don't know if this is going to be adequate for our region. We'll analyze this.
La Amazonía, principal
The
fuente de
Amazon, the
vida
main
y
source
generadora de oxígeno del planeta,
and
fue
generator of
consumida por
oxygen,
voraces
was
incendios
killed,
ocasionados por la acción
was
humana
attacked
en las
by
últimas
ferocious
décadas. Ha
fires.
depredado alrededor
And,
del 17% de la selva tropical
The
más
world
grande e
has been able
importante del
to
mundo.
do away with
Deforestación,
17%
tala y quema de
of
árboles
this
es el común
of this
denominador de la
area
región
due to
amazónica
human
para su
actions.
posterior explotación en actividades agrícolas,
There
la
are
ganadería,
activities in
la
the
minería
agriculture
y la industria forestal.
and in the
En el año
forest companies.
2019 no
In
fue la
2019
excepción.
was not the
Fueron
exception.
devoradas por el
They
fuego
were-
vastos territorios de Brasil, Paraguay,
Vast
Perú,
parts of the
Ecuador, Colombia
government
y
were
parte
just
de Bolivia.
defeated.
Destaca la actitud del presidente brasileño
It's
Jair
important to speak
Bolsonaro,
about the
quien
president
maneja
of
una
Jair
clara
Bolsonaro, who
política
moves
neoliberal antiecologista
a
y
very
depredadora de los recursos naturales,
an
desarticulando instituciones de
policy.
control y preservación de la región. Esta selva húmeda
This
puede
ju-
llegar
this-
a un punto de no retorno.
This jungle can go to a point of no return. Some environmentalist organizations foresee that for 2050, 20% of its territory will be irreversibly dry lands.
Una pequeña pausa en nuestra jugada crítica. Recuerde que a través de la jugada estratégica
If you
de
want,
Twitter puede participar con nosotros.
Some
Regresamos
other
en
drink,
breve.
we have it here.
El pueblo en las calles.
The people on the streets,
También en 2019.
also in 2019. Let's see what happens.
A lo largo de 2019,
Throughout
los pueblos de
2019, the
América
people
Latina y
of
el
Latin
Caribe
America and
han
the
salido a las
Caribbean
calles
have
contra
taken to the
políticas
streets
neoliberales
against
y
neoliberal
exigiendo
policies
justicia
and
social.
demanding social
Así ha
justice.
ocurrido en
This has
Colombia,
happened in
Chile,
Colombia,
Ecuador,
Chile,
Perú y
Ecuador,
Brasil.
Peru,
En
and
Ecuador y
Brazil.
Chile,
In
las
Ecuador and
detonantes de las
Chile,
protestas
the
fueron los
trigger
aumentos al
was the
precio del
increase to the
combustible.
price of
En
diesel.
ambos casos, pero sobre
In both
todo en el
cases,
chileno, los
but especially in
cuestionamientos
Chile,
pasaron
there were
rápidamente
several
a ser contra
questions
todo el sistema neoliberal y
to
la
go
desigualdad
against the
social
entire
que
system of the
esta teoría. En
neoliberal
Ecuador quedó en
framework.
evidencia la
In
injerencia
Ecuador,
del
it was
Fondo Monetario
there,
Internacional,
everything was
organismo que le
revealed to
otorgó
be
un préstamo al
the
gobierno a cambio de
the
brutales
conditions
medidas de
of the
ajuste. La
International
respuesta en la calle fue
Monetary Fund.
inmediata, con movilizaciones
The answers to
autoconvocadas
the
y donde
streets
los
were
pueblos
immediate.
originarios jugaron un papel
Original
determinante.
people
En
and
Chile, el anuncio de un
people
aumento en los
who
precios
took to
del
the
pasaje
streets.
del transporte público derivó en una
In
escalada de
Chile, there was an
movilizaciones que superó
escalation of
incluso el millón de
mobilizations
personas
that
y
were
que
over
vienen siendo
a
reprimidas
million
por los
people
carabineros de
that
Sebastián
were
Piñera. En tanto,
that
en
were
Perú,
counteracted
las
by the
recetas
police.
neoliberales y las
In
denuncias por
Peru,
corrupción
the
provocaron marchas que
all
desembocaron
of the
en una
claims of
fuerte crisis
corruptions
institucional
and
tras
the
la salida de
crisis,
Pedro Pablo
economic
Kuczynski.
crisis,
Asumió el poder
led
Martín Vizcarra,
to the
enfrentando al
streets
poder
too.
legislativo.
Then Mr.
Vizcarra
Kuczynski
adelantó las
left
elecciones
the
para el próximo
presidential
26 de
seat,
enero.
and
También hubo
Martín
movilizaciones en
Vizcarra had to
Argentina durante la
anticipate
última fase de la administración
elections.
Macri. Brasil contra las políticas
Brasil,
de Bolsonaro y Haití denunciando presunta
Argentina
corrupción en
and
el
Macri
Ejecutivo. Se ha observado
and
mayor
Brazil
injerencia de
has
Estados
also
Unidos
have
en sus
some
intentos de
revolts.
desestabilizar a los
United
gobiernos de
States has had
Venezuela,
more
Nicaragua y
attempts to
Cuba.
destabilize
Respecto al
countries
país
of
que conduce
like
Nicolás
Venezuela
Maduro, se
and
han dado
Cuba.
varios ataques a
There have been
embajadas,
very
y se
many
intenta, sin
attacks
éxito,
on
fortalecer la
embassies,
imagen del
and
autoproclamado
they're
Juan
trying
Guaidó.
to
En
strengthen the
Nicaragua
image of the
también se alentó la
self-proclaimed
violencia
President
callejera
Guaidó
y se buscó aislar a
unsuccessfully.
ese país de la comunidad internacional sin
They
éxito.
also
Por
tried
su
to
parte, Donald
isolate
Trump arrasó
Nicaragua
su
from the
política
world
de
stage.
asfixia a Cuba
And
mediante el bloqueo, acción
Trump
que
tried to
recibió un amplísimo
asphyxiate
rechazo
the
internacional
Latin
como la
American
votación en la
countries
Asamblea
by
General de la ONU.
putting
Los
more
pueblos de
harsh
América Latina y el
measures.
Caribe en sus luchas han
The
contado
countries
con
of
el
Latin
apoyo
America
de
and the
organismos
Caribbean have
regionales
always
como el
had
ALBA-TCP,
the support
las
of regional
confederaciones
organizations
indígenas,
like the
sindicatos y
ALBA
organizaciones
TCP,
estudiantiles.
originary peoples organizations, and students.
Continuamos entonces con el análisis.
Let's continue with the analysis. Néstor Rivera has been with us from the first moment. He is a university professor. And as we would say, this is turning good. Welcome. Well, we are dialoguing with Nestor Julian about the events that have marked the geopolitics, the economy, and the geostrategy of Latin America over the year that is now finishing. We've seen people taken to the street. Obviously, we need more time, but because people have also taken to the street to strengthen the position of Venezuela. Well, the situation of Latin America is crucial. But there has to be a different historical solution. I think that the historical process of 200, 500 years has not left a lesson. There is a protest of people on the streets, and the people can compare their quality of life that they had before and now what they have now. This in the midst of having a country that is very wealthy. There was, with the consolidation and arrival of progressive governments, there was a change in their lifestyle. But now things have changed again. What we've had in Latin America was never a true democracy. We've just had oligarchies taking power. However, there have been countries where the governments that are totally left-wing have imposed rules that go from the democracy all the way to the participatory democracy. Yeah, but the thing is that at the end, the economy is taken over by the politics of that land. There have been advances, but the advances must be gathered by their mothers. Well, I think it's important to say how the process of change have been coming about ever since the Cuban Revolution, which is the beginning of a new process in the continent. And yes, the leading people of the continent were leading all of these revolutions and the consolidation of a process that is irreversible. And so it is expected that there will be an alternative model to the one we have now, where a couple of families are the elite. These are processes that shows you a little bit about what happens in Latin America. So, do you agree that in Latin America there has not been a huge event that will threaten democracy as a whole? Well, I would say that the concept of democracy, we can say that the distribution of the wealth, distribution of the international taxes has been invaded. And of course, now there is another model that is pushed forward by Venezuela that is not perfect of democracy, but it's a cycle of being
Nacional Constituyente.
of being a big. And there have been national assemblies, and among all of these national assemblies throughout Latin America, there has been.
Está destinado a programas sociales. Lo anunciaba días atrás la vicepresidenta ejecutiva Delcy Rodríguez.
And just a last bit of information. Democracy is a fight, is a struggle. In the case of Venezuela, between the right and the ghosts and the prejudice surrounding the Western methodology. This is not the democracy of the electoral districts. This has more to say. This is the depoliticization of the candidates.
Ha tocado un buen punto ahí.
You have spoken of a good point, because in many of these societies where there are neoliberal countries, you asked the people, except for the past months, but they said, I'm apolitical.
La idea de la política en Grecia antigua era sencillamente
the idea of being a politician back in the ancient Greece was that politicians were only the people who were well informed and well educated, because otherwise you had nothing to say, so you couldn't be a politician. Now, we have to make a process of getting near civil society. In the 19th century, we established a law saying that the sailboats were free of navigation, and the steamboats had to be given back. Now we have to do the same thing, but with the economy. We have to use a popular banking system and turn down the private agreements.
Sin embargo, los vecinos no lo tienen, y algunos países de Centroamérica andan apostando a la energía.
Some countries are betting on hydrogen energy.
Nosotros tenemos un sistema de trenes.
We have a system of trains.
Nosotros no tenemos integración económica porque factores externos intervienen y lo evitan.
¿Esos factores externos cuáles son?
Estados Unidos.
What are these factors? United States, UK, they still want to have bases in the Caribbean. We have already closed the colonization of the Caribbean. But they always want something in exchange. They want to take over our resources. And look what happened in Brazil. A crazy man takes over the government, and they have a Christian fundamentalist. He's a Christian fundamentalist, and he's almost driving to the ground the country. So we need to see what the potential and what the needs of the countries are, and we define everything that we have in common.
En el pueblo. Debe ser la vigilancia revolucionaria.
So I think that the only option is to have people from the just participating.
Entonces dejan de cumplir la labor por la cual deben estar preparados. En el mismo sentido, nosotros también debemos tener una vigilancia.
We should be vigilant of the political aspects, like having TIAR, NATO, because in some point that there is no
pero su gobierno y su práctica, su ejecución está en función de los pequeños grupos de los actores económicos, los poderes fácticos.
So what we can see is that there are still the economic elites that are taking over the control.
Constituyente que se quiere desarrollar en Chile las autoridades,
the
el gobierno de
authorities
Sebastián
and
Piñera,
the
no
government of
permite que el
Sebastián Piñera
pueblo
does not allow
tenga voz
that the
en
people
ese-
have a
en esa
vote
consulta,
or
¿no?
a
Es la
voice in this
representación,
consultation.
es seguir el empeño de hace
modelo de
200 años, el
Montesquieu.
modelo liberal. Nosotros si revisamos
The
las constituciones del
neoliberal
siglo XIX eran muy
constitutions,
bonitas,
we can
no
say that the
matarás y
19th
matas.
century
Entonces debe haber un
constitutions were
equilibrio entre
nice,
partidos,
but
movimientos sociales y
we see that they were
organizaciones
not
populares
useful.
que contribuyan
There has
a la
to be a
defensa de-
balance.
Cuando no hay control de los,
When there is no
arriba de
control
los partidos,
of
por supuesto
the
que habría una
political
situación
parties,
distinta.
O sea, que
of
también
course
hay
there
un
was a
tema
hard
allí,
position.
a nivel parlamentario.
Claro, pero por eso se matan los dirigentes sociales, porque los dirigentes
But,
sociales no forman
I
parte
don't,
de
I
Colombia,
myself
de
don't
los
want to
partidos,
go
y por lo tanto no pueden ser amarrados,
to
reducidos y comprados,
this,
son
but
cientos, son miles. Entonces, hay un juego de democracia
there is a
restringida,
democracy
limitada,
game there
que
that is
imposibilita no
limited,
solo el ejercicio
that
político,
doesn't
sino la
let
capacidad de
people
asumir y
assume
mejores condiciones de vida, que es lo que
better
ustedes
conditions of
demandan en
life.
estos pueblos.
Pero
And
este
this is what
mismo
people
que
demand.
critica la presunta falta de democracia
But
en muchos países
those
es el
who
que
criticize
ejerce
the
esa
lack of
limitación,
democracy
que es la extrema derecha
is
de Estados
the
Unidos,
same
los
person who is
aspectos de
who is
democracia que
causing
maneja
it.
la OEA, que no podemos dejar por fuera
These are the
ese
people
análisis.
who are
Los pueblos de América Latina son
the
los que
people
deben
of Latin
encargarse de
America
hacer
are
la
the ones who
diplomacia de
should
los pueblos,
make the
que
diplomacy
contribuye
of
a
the
la
people.
liquidación de la OEA.
Esa
Ya en este
frase,
siglo.
digamos que es lapidaria, ¿no?
Let's say that this phrase is terrible.
La diplomacia de los pueblos.
Exacto. Y la liquidación de la OEA. Y asumir una postura
And assume
de
a
frente y
position
abierta contra el modelo anglosajón que culturalmente no es el nuestro. Esto es un tema que
that is
este
it's
siglo
a
se va a
different
dar.
model for us.
No podrán seguir apostando
They
al
will not be
autoritarismo
able to
liberal,
keep on betting to
a
the
la-
neoliberal
lo que pretende Israel, cosa
authoritarianism
muy peligrosa, a la diplomacia que lo demostraron en Venezuela,
or
a
to the
partir de
diplomacy
captar
that has
sectas y
been
líderes religiosos
shown
financiados,
in
subsidiados por
Venezuela,
ellos,
where they have
estableciendo
been
medios y propaganda
religions
para
that have
mantener
been
una política de
infiltrated in the
intervención en América
country.
Sigue pululando el sionismo en América Latina y el
Exacto.
Caribe.
Sí, pero lo lamentable es que
Yeah,
nosotros no
is,
tenemos una
the
inteligencia
Zionism is
estratégica.
still
Nosotros creemos que
here
la
in
inteligencia
Latin
estratégica hay que
America.
tener un poco de hombres llenos de músculos y una pistola, y la inteligencia estratégica es
But we have to be, we have to have
identificar en el pueblo los cuadros con la
strategic
suficiente
intelligence.
capacidad de interpretar
We
la
need
realidad histórica de
people
América Latina y las respuestas que
that
cada
have
momento dio.
authority
entonces en
and
una
key
frase,
positions
participación del
that are
pueblo.
Exacto.
very
Organización
aware and
política
keen
de
on what
la
we're
región.
saying.
Bueno, se nos acaba el tiempo.
Well,
Usted iba a
time is
hacer
up.
un
You were going to
breve-
say something
Un
briefly.
pueblo politizado y un
This is
pueblo
a
que
politicized
investiga, y un pueblo que
country.
estudia mucho, que
Ese es el
no-
poder-
This is a
ese es el
country that
poder instituyente,
investigates.
que lo habla Castoriadis, que es afortunado en este aspecto y en este tiempo.
Y que también tenía muy claro nuestro comandante Hugo Chávez.
And
con
that
su
Hugo
concepción de la
Chavez had
comunidad,
everything
por
very
supuesto.
clear.
Bueno, pues es el momento de sentar conclusiones.
Well,
en
it's the
nuestra
time
jugada
to-
crítica. A ambos muchísimas
To set
gracias.
forward
Gracias.
our conclusions.
Ya lo ven, lo decía.
Well,
nuestros
as you saw it,
invitados, una región con
our guest
asignaturas
said that this
pendientes, sobre
is a
todo en
region that
países
still
cuyos
has
gobiernos
challenges in
intenten
front,
imponer recetas neoliberales,
and especially
ver
those that
cómo
have
son aquellos
countries
proyectos
where
cuyas recetas son atacadas,
there are
tanto por la
neoliberal
derecha
recipes that
interna
are
como
trying
por
to
la
be
Casa Blanca,
imposed,
siguiendo el objetivo
both
imperialista
by
de echar por tierra
international
lo dignamente
organizations and the
logrado
White
para
House.
luego expoliar al patio trasero. Así se despide
This is
Latinoamérica y el
how
Caribe
the end
de
of the year
2019.
2019
Nuevas
has
arremetidas
reached
golpistas
us. There are
acelerarán a
new
sus
coup
pueblos en la
d'etats,
tarea de seguir
and
luchando
those
por la
countries will
América
have
que
to
soñó
keep
Bolívar,
on fighting
la que
for the
soñó
country
Martí,
that
la del
Martí
proyecto del
and
ALBA,
Bolívar
la
had
América
dreamt.
nuestra,
This is
dispuesta
our
a lidiar,
America,
a
willing
lidiar, digo
to
mejor, con diferencias ideológicas,
to work
pero
with the differences,
preservando
but
lo más
always
preciado,
preserving the most
la paz.
sacred peace.
Por hoy cerramos el tablero.
This is all
geopolítico.
for us.